Hey everybody. Today I want to share with you one of my favorite books of all time. This book is called Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH. It's a children's book that was written in 1971 by Robert C. O'Brien. It was illustrated by Zena Bernstein. The story was later adapted for film in 1982, also known as The Secret of NIMH. This book was chosen as the winner of the 1972 Newbery Medal. Along with being chosen for the Newbery Medal, it also won these awards as well. The author, Robert O'Brien, has created a small but complete world in which a mother's concern for her son overpowers her fear of all her natural enemies and allows her to make some extraordinary discoveries along the way. Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH is a humorous, witty, and thought-provoking story that has stood the test of time. Like I said, it was first published in 1971 and has been in constant print ever since. This weekend is Mother's Day, and this book holds a special place in my heart because of the main character, who is also a mother. Her name is Mrs. Frisby. She is the head of a family of field mice due to her husband's untimely death at the hands of the farmer's cat, whose name is Dragon. Her son Timothy is ill with pneumonia, just as the farmer begins preparations for spring plowing in the garden where the Frisby family lives. Normally, she would just move her family, but Timothy would not survive the cold trip to their summer home. Mrs. Frisby gets medicine from her friend, Mr. Aegis, an older white mouse. On the return journey, she saves the life of Jeremy, a young crow, from Dragon, the farmer's cat, the same cat who killed her husband, Jonathan. Jeremy suggests she seek help in moving Timothy and her house from an owl who dwells in the forest. Jeremy flies Mrs. Frisby to the owl's tree, but the owl says he cannot help until he finds out that she is the widow of Jonathan Frisby. He suggests that Mrs. Frisby seek help from the rats who live in a large rose bush near her. Mrs. Frisby discovers the rats are greatly advanced and have technology such as elevators. They have tapped the electricity grid to provide lighting and heating and have acquired other human skills. Their leader, Nicodemus, tells Mrs. Frisby of the rats' capture by scientists working for a laboratory located at the National Institute of Mental Health, also known as NIMH, and the experiments that the humans performed on the rats. This increased intelligence and strength in the rats, which ultimately allowed them to escape from NIMH laboratories and move to their present location. Jonathan Frisby and Mr. Aegis were the only two survivors of a group of 8 mice who had been part of the experiments at NIMH and made the rats' escape possible. Out of their respect and unending gratitude for Jonathan, the rats agreed to move Mrs. Frisby's house to a safe location from the plow. Nicodemus also tells Mrs. Frisby about, quote, the plan, which is to abandon their lifestyle of dependence on humans, which some rats regard as theft, for a new and independent farming colony. To move the Frisby home, the rats have to drug Dragon, as it is too dangerous to work with the cat wandering nearby. Mrs. Frisby volunteers to do the job because she is the only one that could fit through the tiny hole that goes into the house. The successful house move allows the Frisby family to remain so that Timothy has time to recover before moving to their summer home. Once Timothy recovers, Mrs. Frisby and her family move to their summer home, and they make plans to visit the rats when they return to their winter home again. Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH might not be a book that was written 100 years ago, but this modern classic fits the traditional mold in many ways. The book teaches us the importance of family, home, sacrifice, community, independence, technology, and even protecting the environment. It has been praised for using animals to convey a larger message about science, the nature of intelligence, and the destruction of the environment. The rats in the story are a parable for scientific progress and innovation and the power that comes with knowledge. This book captivated me from start to finish when I read it for the first time. It has been shared through 4 generations in my family so far, and I'm sure it will continue to be shared for many years to come. It's such an amazing story of courage, morality, and heroism. It's hard to imagine anyone not being moved by this book. So this is one of those that I would highly recommend that anybody that had any inclination to read it, please do. It's one of those books that will touch your heart and motivate you to be a better person. Well, thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you guys have a great week.